Hello, I'm J.R. Watson, a graduate student in American University's Arts Management program. I would like to thank you for watching the Leading the Arts in Academia panel from the Emerging Arts Leaders Symposium at American University. Before we start, I would like to thank Americans for the Arts for their generous support of EALS Online. Now I will go ahead and introduce the panelists. We have Jacqueline Leary-Warsaw. She is the founding dean of the Benjamin T. Rome School of Music, Drama, and Art at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. As the school's first dean, Dr. Larry Warsaw has led the development of the Rome School into a respected institution known for its rigorous and conservative style training in the visual and performing arts. She is responsible for all functions and matters related to the Rome School, including all creative and academic programs, student recruitment and retention, and fundraising and advancement initiatives. She is currently overseeing the school's first $25 million campaign as part of the university's Light the Way comprehensive campaign. As a member of the university's senior leadership, she serves on numerous committees, including the executive committee of the Administrative Council and the Academic Leadership Group. She also oversees the Rome School Board of Visitors. Dr. Larry Warsaw is known to audiences around the world as the host of the popular television series In Concert on EWTN, Global Catholic Television Network. As the producer, writer, and on-air host of the concert, she has worked with Radio Televisione Italiana, EuroArts, and Public Broadcasting Service, among other television production companies. She serves on the board of directors of American Federation Puri Cantornes and the advisory board of the Washington International Piano Festival. Dr. Larry Warsaw holds a Doctor of Musical Arts degree from the Peabody Conservatory of Music at Johns Hopkins University, a Master's of Music degree from the Catholic University of America, and a Bachelor of Music degree from University of Louisville. She is a member of the International Council on Fine Arts Deans, American Conference of Academic Deans, College Music Society National Association of Teachers in Singing, and Pi Kappa Lambda Music Honors Society. Next, we have Kim Rice. She is the intern director of the Cochrane School of Arts and Design and an associate professor in Museum Studies in the Museums Studies program at the George Washington University. Rice holds a PhD in American Studies from George Washington University. She has worked as an independent exhibition curator and consultant in museum interpretation and museum libraries. Her publications include World of a Slave, Encyclopedia of the Material Culture of Slaves in the United States, co-edited with Martha Katz-Hyman. Next, we have Dr. Jason Greery. He is the director of the School of Music at the University of Maryland, and as special advisor to the dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, is currently overseeing a university-wide arts initiative. As musicologist, he has lectured and published widely, and for 12 years was on the faculty at the University of Michigan School of Music, Theater, and Dance, where he was also an associate dean. During his early 4 years at Maryland, Dr. Greery has enhanced career advising and entrepreneurship training for students, forged ties between music and sciences, increased faculty and student diversity, fostered more inclusive programming, encouraged curricular reform, significantly increasing the school's fund balance while more than doubling annually fundraising totals, and launched community engagement initiatives that have received national attention. This summer, he will be stepping down from his present role to become Dean of the Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers.
Rutgers.
Yes, thank you. University, where he will oversee the departments of music, theater, dance, art, and design, and filmmaking. Okay, so now that introductions are over, I would like to go ahead and start a conversation about what's most pressing in our society right now, which is COVID-19. Since most universities are online for the remainder of the semester, how does this affect your programming and students, and how is your program transitioning to teaching online? So I'll let whoever wants to jump in first go ahead and do so.
I'm happy to jump in. So I have to say that I've been amazed and inspired by the faculty in the Rome School at Hallowell. They have transitioned their teaching to 100% online, and to the students as well, to the transition that they've had to make. It has been something that has certainly come with some challenges, as it was unexpected. But what it has taught all of us to be is to be very flexible, as we have had to make the change quickly. It's gone very well. We have all of our teaching being done online. We have our performances, recitals, art shows. They've either been canceled, rescheduled, or are being done online. And so we've found some really wonderful and creative ways to do that. If I could just give one example, our drama department had an upcoming production of Measure for Measure. And while we did have to cancel that performance, the students, along with their director, will be producing that play, that Shakespearean play, online as a reading. And despite the fact that it's not going to be a fully staged production, I'm confident that it's going to be a beautiful rendition of the Shakespeare play. I just offer that as one example of what we're doing.
Real quick, Alvin Trask, the other panelist, just got in. So this is Alvin Trask, who just joined us. He is currently the chair of the Performing Arts at Montgomery College in Rockville, Maryland. He is also currently a part of the National Association of Schools of Music Evaluator. He has been a professor of music for 15 years prior to Montgomery College. He was chair of performing arts at St. Stephen's and St. Agnes School for 8 years and band director 7 years prior. He is still an active performer in the Washington metro area. How are you today?
Good.
Okay, so just to let you know, the question that I have asked is about COVID-19. Since most universities are online for the remainder of the semester, how does it affect your programs, the students, and how is your programming transitioning to teaching online?
So I'll jump in here as well. So Jacqueline, I'd just be curious, how long have you guys been at online instruction at Catholic?
Sure. So we just completed our first week of all online learning. The students, when all of this went down, the students were actually on spring break. So it was the Monday after they were supposed to be back from spring break, that started the week that we were to do that.
Got it. So you're a little bit ahead of where we are at the University of Maryland. We are beginning the grand experiment tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. The university did something that I think was fairly interesting, but I think quite useful in that So our spring break was not last week, but the week before last. And they extended it by a week to give faculty and staff and administration an opportunity to really think about what that transition to an online environment would look like. And really marshaled the resources of the university, I think, quite effectively. Our Teaching and Learning Transformation Center and other entities on campus who have been very supportive in that that effort, and created sort of websites that we can visit that are teaching.umd.edu. There's one for Keep Learning, and we're in the arts working on one that's going to be Keep Creating, as sort of clearing houses, if you will, for faculty, staff, and students to find resources that will help in this really unprecedented transition to doing everything online. I needn't, of course, state what the most obvious challenge is, and that is the sorts of things that our students rely on and have grown accustomed to doing in person, right? Recitals and large ensemble performances and these sorts of things. But like you, Jacqueline, I've been quite heartened and impressed by the resilience and the creativity of the faculty in coming up with ways in which they can not only sort of continue in some way, shape, or form, but try in some fashion to give students a kind of experience or have them engage in activities that are enriching and very different from what they otherwise would be involved in. Now, that's of necessity, of course, when you think about something like the experience that you're going to have playing in an orchestra or singing in the opera. You can't replicate that online, but we're really trying to think about ways in which we can take lemons and make lemonade, and see the silver lining here, and give students tools that they might not otherwise have had, and to help them in ways that are meaningful and substantive. So as I say, I would ask me a week from now how it's going, and I'll be able to tell you more, but I'm excited about what I think are some of the really creative and innovative ways in which faculty are going to be approaching this really unprecedented challenge.
Maybe I could also just jump in here to follow Jason. GW is following similar course to everyone else. We're completely online. We started, we also are on the same schedule as Catholic. So we've just finished our first week of online classes, but we started right before our spring break with kind of preparing for this. And it meant that faculty had no spring break, basically, in effect. Probably it was the same for you guys too, because most of us don't teach online. So we had to have all these intense tutorials to help us. And then just to do the planning, no matter what, these classes are different than the ones we would have been offering in person. So we have to compensate for that. It's a lot more work for both our full-time and our part-time faculty. And I have to say, I've been like you both, I'm really impressed with how people have stepped up and accepted that this is the new reality. The students too. And they're really, everybody is kind of making, not the best, there are some very interesting ways in which you can teach this way. It almost allows, in some instances, more individual attention, because the professor, like I'm doing a lot of one-on-one things with my students, and I think others as well. We've been a little challenged by the studio aspect of a lot of what happens in the Corcoran, because we are an art school, a visual art school, and so we're handling that by a lot of on the online sessions, also kind of going into breakout sessions where the professor can talk to small groups of the students or to individual students and help them with their work. Because we had a little bit of warning, we did instruct students before they left for spring break to take everything with them. as much as they could so that they could work on things at home. And that's what people are doing.
Yeah, similar to American, we started the week of the 23rd as well. So it was fast tracking everybody who had never taught online. We used the Blackboard format in general for all classes, but of course, there's some professors who were not as skilled in Blackboard, particularly with the assessments. So we had a lot of tutorials. Our professional development office, they were offering courses that full week for faculty to come in and get extra training. Even though we do have a lot of faculty who do teach online, but still there are a lot of courses, that were never online before. And now the new reality. And the challenge too, with the performance-based classes, applied lessons, it's been really tough for us, but we've encouraged them to use Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, all these various different formats to engage students, and trying to move some areas of the arts from from skill-based to actual knowledge-based, incorporating more historical, theoretical aspects into the course has been very helpful. And we've had some faculty members, who've had some technical challenges, and many of our faculty members who are senior, have a lot of experience online. They've helped out, a lot of the other faculty members to get on board with a lot of things. So everybody's been working really well together. We've had a few challenges with a few students, who don't have digital access, in terms of their own laptops. So the college has created an emergency fund where students can, send their name, their ID number in, and, and they can actually pick up a laptop or an iPad or whatever they need to engage. So, this first week's been a little bumpy, but I think everybody's come together, and, I think we're working it out, as best we can.
Awesome. So going off of that question, what, as a leader in academia, has this pandemic taught you that you would like to share?
Wow.
So I'll jump in here. I think one of the things it has taught me is something I think I knew, but that was reinforced for me in recent weeks, is just the importance of having a really strong team around you. Because one of the things I think that has made a very difficult situation not as challenging as it might be is the fact that I've been able to rely on my associate directors and my senior administrative team, our operations director, and so forth, who have just done yeoman's work and in helping to get us to the point where we are. So you mentioned the question of access, and yes, that is an issue. And also, we knew that we were sending a lot of students out who, when we're asking them to then have one-on-one lessons online, and some of them didn't have pianos at home, and some of them don't have percussion equipment. So my senior assistant director, who oversees production and operations, and in consultation with the two academic associate directors at the school, one undergraduate and one graduate, really worked nothing short of a miracle in working with a company that we've engaged before, who's picked up all of our percussion equipment and is going to be delivering it to students sort of on a rotating basis. So that they can have access to it for practicing and also for lessons, and who also utilized their contacts and reached out to one of our alums who happens to be an executive for Steinway & Sons. We're also an all Steinway school, and Steinway was generous enough in saying it would come and take about half a dozen of our upright pianos and move them for free to students' apartments, so that they would have they would have pianos, but the amount of time and energy and just logistical work that has gone into this was tremendous. And, it couldn't have happened without a really strong team in place. So I'm very fortunate for the people that I have around me. And that something like this is a reminder to me of why that's really important.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can happy to speak up next. There are two things that I have learned. I feel like I've learned many things, but the two predominant things that I've learned, one has been, and I mentioned this a while ago, is the ability to be flexible at a time when we were not expecting to have to go through all of this. The flexibility to having to make a very quick change, one that we foresaw coming in a very short amount of time, and having to accommodate the needs of the students, but not only just simply accommodating them through online teaching, but going beyond status quo. So being flexible and yet being able to maintain a high level of excellence in education. And that's really one thing that we have been really I've been trying to instill that with the faculty. The university has been trying to instill that, is that this is not just about going online and going through the act of teaching online, but it's really maintaining the excellence, the high quality of education, despite the fact that we're using resources now that we were not anticipating. The other big thing that I have learned is that we cannot presume anything when it comes to students' situations. I've been surprised, and I have been, it's been heart-wrenching, quite frankly, to hear about some of the stories from students. When we said all residence halls are closing, students come, you've got a couple of days to pick up your belongings, come, do that, and go home. Even something like that, I learned that you cannot presume that a student has a home to go to. I found out that students didn't have a home to go to, that their home was it was the campus. That a safe haven for some students is the campus, that going home meant going home to an unsafe or unhealthy environment. Also, I learned you cannot presume that students have the resources that are necessarily needed to be able to do 100% learning online. We too have been trying to accommodate both students and faculty, for that matter, who went into this whole situation without having laptops or without having a webcam. So those kind of things, not assuming or presuming any situation about any single person, and really trying to accommodate those many different cases.
Yeah, and speaking from our side, similar to some of the things in terms of addressing faculty needs and student needs, I think one of the most important things I've learned is that all the resources that the college has available, especially for students in terms of food security, digital, not having access to digital tools, not having access to technology in their homes and et cetera. So it was a, learning about, all the resources that the college has was, pretty phenomenal on that level, in terms, because there were some things about food insecurity, shelter, I just didn't, I never had to engage those things, since being the chair, but it's been pretty amazing. But the faculty, working with faculty who are not experienced with teaching online, that teamwork, I think, is amazing. Seeing my faculty step up, people who I normally wouldn't expect to step up have stepped up to help and assist other faculty members in getting their coursework online, course content in Blackboard, the teamwork has been great.
Same thing has happened at GW too. It's very impressive. I have to say too that the students have been remarkable in um, this is very disappointing for those who are seniors, or they're finishing their advanced degrees, there no graduation. We have a huge thesis exhibition every year that was scheduled to open in April. That's been canceled, and we're going to try to put it online. But none of these things are what they expected. And their families were coming for, to celebrate them, and now they're back home for the majority of them, trying to cope with all of this. There's a lot of bad news in the press and on TV about just what the virus is doing, what it's going to do to their future prospects, in the employment realm. Just I think this is a hard time for them, and I've been really impressed with how they're coping. The faculty is also impressive. I don't want to downplay that, but for kids who are 18, 19, 20 years old, this is a hard situation to have to come to terms with, not something they expected, and the fact it has happened so fast. So I think we owe them. I'm sure it'll continue this way too. They've really seemed to be embracing the situation right now, and that's really heartening for me, certainly. I think all of my faculty too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's being on the student side. It's very interesting to see how everything's coming together, and we're still making everything happen one way or another.
Yeah.
It's really great how everyone's working together on this. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot a little bit to funding and advocacy. This is important, definitely, now that we have to be aware that there will most likely be a major economic crisis heading our way. When talking about funding within schools and competing with STEM, how are a few ways that you advocate for your arts program within your institution? And if we can focus on how you work with and against STEM in that idea, how do you inform the campus community of the importance of the arts in and out of education?
Good questions.
Well, I'm.
Go ahead.
I can speak to that. First of all, just in terms of general advocacy for the arts, when I go out to groups, or even just talking to colleagues and university leadership at the university, one of the things that I like to remind people about is the fact that every person in this country is a consumer of the arts. If you download music, you're a consumer of the arts. If you go to a movie at the movie theater, you are a consumer of the arts. And all of us here can list many, 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 many ways that we do that. What I find is that many people who live their everyday life incorporating the arts into that life in a way that perhaps they're not even aware of. They don't think of themselves as consumers of the arts. And so to have that reminder come to them, it's quite eye-opening to a lot of people, because what it does is then it allows them to step back and say, if I am indeed a consumer of the arts, what can I do to support the arts? And that's where I like to begin a conversation about supporting the arts in a variety of ways, either financially or in other ways. But in terms of advocacy on our campus, one of the things that I have been doing within the last 6 months with university leadership is to talk about ways that we can increase recruitment on campus, school-wide, across the university, increasing enrollment through the use of the arts on a broader basis. So in other words, what I have said to deans of other schools, what I have said to the president of the university, to our provost, is if you allow me to, if you give me the opportunity to bring the arts to a wider spectrum across the campus, then our school can actually recruit for your school. So in addition to recruiting for our own school, recruiting majors for our own school, we're looking at ways that we can increase the culture of the arts on campus and reach the entire campus. Statistics show that high school students who have been engaged in the visual and performing arts have higher GPAs, have higher SAT scores. And so we're able to, by doing this, we're able to recruit high achieving students and bring those students into the School of Architecture, the School of Engineering, the School of Nursing, because what we're finding is that students, they may not want to major in the arts, but these students still want to have an experience in the arts. And so they're choosing schools, they're choosing institutions where they can have that experience in the arts. So then what that in fact does for us within the Rome School is it populates our classes, it populates our ensembles, it populates our productions, and we're setting up a road to the future where we can actually communicate with future alumni about supporting that school and fundraising for the school after they graduate.
Yeah, being a two-year school, it's been challenging for us in a lot of different ways. But one thing that we've tried is partnering with STEM. We've had some sort of cross-discipline exhibitions. We had one using digital art along with the engineering department, and how they use CAD and other computer-assisted technology that's similar to our media arts students. So we brought those two together, and at the same time in that exhibition, we had our musicians performing in that same venue along with the science and the media technology folks. So for us, we've sort of taken advantage of some of our general education requirements that students need for the four-year schools to kind of partner. For example, our theater tech students and music students, they partner with the physics department because there's a gen ed science course. I think it's titled Sound, Lights, and something. It's a physics course that talks about acoustics and sound and light, and that's so our students in theater tech and our music students, these are areas that they need to have those outside general education experiences. So we've kind of tried to partner through a curriculum kind of way of cross-discipline, getting our majors and making sure students who are in STEM, if you're a biology major, sometimes you have to diagram cells, getting those students populated in the art drawing courses. So we've tried to make some of those kind of cross discipline aspects in terms of, getting both arts and STEM kind of partnering in that way. But it's been a challenge, because when it comes to funding, the science has this wonderful new building, and we're still struggling with our 1970s building. But luckily at Montgomery College, we've had an administration that's been pretty good to the arts in terms of how we get funding. Each year, they ask me to do a 4% cut, a 7% cut, and a 9% proposed budget. So each year I have to show, there's some potential cuts coming. So I have to have these budgets to present. And then, my dean goes and advocates, and we figure out that's going to be a 7% cut or a 9% cut this year, or sometime no cuts. But it's tough, advocating to the upper administration in terms of the importance of the arts. And like, similar to what you guys did, we market for the college. You know, we're an excellent marketing tool for the college, and we're just trying to embed ourselves with community advancement and community outreach of the college, that we're part of this whole Montgomery College reaching out to all communities, and we can help you do that and bring students to the college, you know, through the arts. Not necessarily students who are going to major in the arts, but the arts as a marketing tool and connecting to the community with community events. So that's kind of been our way of kind of partnering with STEM, but it's tough because, you know, you see where the money goes, but oftentimes they say we're very expensive too.
Right.
In terms of, you know, the things, our large purchases, you know, because it's been told to me many times, you know, you're a department in nursing, you guys are the most expensive programs on the campus, you know, but I say we need more. You know, I never, you know, shy away from, you know, trying to advocate for our students, and important for all students to engage in the arts, you know, to have arts as part of their education. And you know, whether it's the STEM students or students in humanities and English, we try to engage everyone to, you know, be a part of our sort of some of our general education openings. And we have many students who perform in our ensembles who are STEM majors, you know, students who want to continue study their instruments. And, you know, we do offer, you know, students who, if they perform in an ensemble and they're not a music major, we even make amends for them to take lessons as well if they're STEM major, which at one time we did not allow that at the college.
I mean, GW has been in the news a lot for a sort of renewed focus on STEM. And I think that the Corcoran for GW is a rather new entity. We've only been part of GW since 2014. But we have really pushed a lot of interdisciplinary collaborations between Corcoran programs and elsewhere in the university, including we have an interaction design program that's worked with the computer science program, for example, in the School of Engineering. And there are other things like that that are happening. And I agree with what Jacqueline said earlier, that kids come to big universities looking for the ability to take performing arts classes as part of their education. They may not be majoring in them, maybe it's a minor, or even just a series of electives, but it's really important to so many students, you know, whatever their career goals are. And our writing programs, our gen ed programs, those are all things that we try to work together on and attract students from throughout GW. This last year, for example, we had a mathematics professor do his sabbatical at the Corcoran. And he's taught before a math and art class, which many of our students take and students elsewhere in the university as well. And so he's been working on using 3D printers to be able to mock up mathematical formulas and, you know, visualize them for students. And he's developing a textbook for the future in this area. So that was a great experience for us to have him as part of the school for this brief time, and then he'll start to teach with one of our staff members in the future next year. So I think there are a lot of things like that our schools, all of our schools, probably have going or will be having going with STEM related disciplines.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what's been said, and I think what this gets at, and certainly what has guided me in my effort to advocate on behalf of the arts, is this notion of taking the arts that often exist sort of on the margins and putting them at the center of the research enterprise of the institution. And one of the ways, there are a number of ways in which you can do that, but one of them obviously is building these bridges with disciplines across campus, the sciences, but even beyond. And certainly that's something that I've tried to do during my tenure here at Maryland. We have some really exciting collaborations happening between the School of Music and our College of Mathematical and Natural Sciences around virtual reality, and in particular, sort of the intersection between music, virtual reality, and potential for pain management. And so that brings together a team of professors, not just from the University of Maryland, College Park, but also where our professional schools are at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and others that I could talk about if there were more time. But one other thing I'll add here is that I also try to look to the impact and try and really show and highlight the impact that the arts have, not just on campus and across disciplines, but also within the community more broadly. And so we have launched a number of community engagement initiatives that have our students out in local schools across the state of Maryland, in DC, beyond, and one that I think has been particularly effective is we have a graduate student residency where 2 of our students are embedded at a senior retirement community, and that's in Bowie, Maryland, not too far from campus. And they perform, they put on concerts, they engage with the residents in any number of ways, in exchange for which they receive free room and board. So it's kind of a win-win-win. But the impact of this has been such that it allows me to say to the senior administration, look at the sort of transformative power of the arts here in action, right? And that's a kind of sort of impact that I think we could all point to throughout our programs, many-fold. And so I think those 2 strategies of trying to put the arts at the center of the institutional goals and mission, and also thinking about the impact of the arts more broadly, and really highlighting that over and over for owners, stakeholders, and leadership.
Awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and pivot to just an education versus industry question. So what are a few ways that your program prepares your students for the transition to the for-profit/nonprofit world? And what skills are important for students to have when transitioning to that?
So I'll jump in here and say, one of the things we have started within the last couple of years, 2 programs, courses that I think are relevant here. One is we have, as part of sort of a larger entrepreneurship training, a course that was initially entitled The Entrepreneurial Musician, and has grown to become sort of financial entrepreneurship for the arts, and is for students across the arts now, and also is part of a recently launched arts leadership minor that our students have access to, but also students across campus. And what that does is really try to instill in students important entrepreneurial skills that we think they're going to need in order to be successful in the arts. And that basically gets at the idea that one needs to go beyond just honing one's craft, whatever that might be, and really have a kind of technological competency and ability to communicate with a broad constituency across different areas, whether we're talking about financial or fundraising and nonprofit sectors and so forth and so on, grant writing. And so we have specialists in each of these areas that come into this class and work with students. We have a lecture series we call our Renegade, where we bring to camp individuals who have whose own career success has been defined in some way by a kind of entrepreneurial approach, and those visitors work very closely with our students and give a talk or some sort of presentation, but also have an opportunity for exchange with our students. And we also have instituted within the performing arts in particular career advising hours in our building that draw on the resources of the university, but also are informed by our own sort of resources and experiences. And all of this, I think, with an eye toward, as I indicated earlier, one of the things we think is necessary to be successful is to have not just a diverse sort of toolkit at one's disposal, but also a kind of ability to think really creatively and be flexible. This is something that Jacqueline was referring to earlier, as we've all been sort of navigating the current moment. But I think that it's that spirit and that sort of ethos that our students also need to harness, because the field of the arts is so rapidly changing and sort of constantly evolving. And students have to have so many skills at their disposal in order to to really create or forge a path for themselves where often no obvious path exists.
Yeah, at Montgomery College, since we're a two-year school, our primary focus with our students has been more of transferability, getting into the next institution. That's sort of the core. But at the same time, we do talk to our students about, seeking employment as a musician, understanding the business, understanding social media, marketing yourself. We do touch on that. We have workshops. We bring in guest artists a lot, and sometimes even our alumni who are very successful to talk to students and have a question and answer session. We do many sort of career-based workshop master classes for our students to engage in that area. One particular area in our theater department, in our theater tech department, many of our students are very successful in getting work even before they finish their two-year program at Montgomery College, because that's more of a skill set, more base skill, rather than a degree based. So a lot of our students who come through our technical program, some of them start working within, before they even complete their degree. So in that area, we do have some connections with the larger Washington metropolitan area theaters in this area. So a lot of our students get internships and eventually get full-time employment in those areas. And the same with our performance majors. We encourage our students to seek out internships, to learn about arts administration and learn about arts advocacy and learn about marketing. We've had a few students who've taken internships at BlackRock in Germantown. We've had some work with Washington Women in Jazz, and we've recently had some at the Fillmore, where they've worked more towards the marketing side. So, but mainly our primary focus is to transfer, getting them and prepare for that audition. So, but we do bring in outside guests to speak to our students about the business and understanding, technology and how to use technology. Now that you're a clarinet player, you might want to, learn how to use your Apple computer and engage on a different level with music. So we do, have some workshops and lectures to engage students in that way.
And at Catholic University, it's very important to us that our students be prepared for the world of nonprofit and for-profit entities. And we offer a number of ways. We actually have a dual degree program through our School of Business. And that is where they're working simultaneously on 2 degrees, a degree in music and a degree in business administration. And that's actually a very popular program with our undergraduates. We have, through the business school, a minor in performing arts management that is offered, and that's very popular as well. Students can take courses through the business school, and then courses through our Department of Drama and our departments of music to support that minor. And then the business school offers a Master of Science in Business, which is actually very popular with graduates of the Rome School. And it's a 9-month program, so there's not a lot of time that has to be committed to this. They can finish this degree program in a fairly short amount of time. But what that does is it really does prepare them and give them good grounding in arts management. But because of the short duration that is required for that degree, the 9 months, it doesn't really impact our ability to recruit those same students for graduate degrees within the Rome School, where in those courses, in those programs, they're committing to typically 2 years for a master's degree and 7+ years for a doctorate. But we don't find that to be a hindrance in our ability to actually recruit for the graduate programs. So between those three programs that we have and this very close collaboration with the business school, we are able to help prepare students for the profit and not-for-profit worlds.
I think at the Corcoran at GW, we are doing similar sorts of things. All of our undergrad majors have to take a professional practice class. It's required. And so it teaches you some of the skills that everybody else has outlined. In addition, we have a strong career center that also does career counseling. We have workshops, other kinds of training opportunities. Almost everybody at the grad and the undergraduate level does internships so that they gain professional experience, which I think is very important. We are moving into a new MFA in socially motivated art that is going to be taught with the Trachtenberg School of Public Policy. So it'll sort of bring art and policy together, and that's going to start in the fall. And then I think across the other graduate programs that we have at the Corcoran, we have some 21 degrees, is the soft skills. And I think probably everybody here focuses on those too. How do you communicate yourself? Those sorts of things. It's really important. Students can be very gifted academically and artistically, but not know really, how to talk about themselves and how to market themselves. So that's also an important emphasis too.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and move and ask one closing question, and then we will finish the panel. So the question I'm going to ask is, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is interested in pursuing a career path in academia and leading academia?
Well,
Don't
my
give up.
advice,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
don't give up.
don't
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Jacqueline.
No. I was going to say my advice is absolutely go for it. I think that we are going to see in the visual and performing arts amazing and innovative ways that arts just continues to grow in strength in our country and across the world. We're in a digital age now, of course, and that offers immense opportunities in the arts. Um, and uh, and I think also that it's a misconception that one cannot support themselves with an arts degree. And that's something that I like to talk about with our students, that when you commit to an arts career, you absolutely can have a very fulfilling and enriched life as a professional working in the arts, as is testament by all of us who are here.
It's true.
I tell, my students all the time, there's no greater job than coming to work and being involved in the arts and doing what I love, whether it's teaching, whether I'm advocating, whether I'm promoting, performing. It's a wonderful career. And I say oftentimes, you graduate from school, you thinking you're going to do something, I'm going to go straight to New York, I'm going to go to Las Vegas, do this or whatever. I often tell them, my first job, when I graduated undergrad, I was playing rodeos between Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. Never know what you're going to be doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, be open, and also you have to always be an advocate for the arts. You always have to think about building an audience, building, connections. And one of the things that, in terms of being at Montgomery College, is just making sure we're embedded in every area of the university. If I see a video promotion on television of Montgomery College and they have canned music, I immediately call them, hey, we got some music for you for this commercial.
That's great.
Just making sure we're in there, at all times, just embedding, ourselves within the community that we're in. And I often tell students, I say, it's great to be, oftentimes they'll say, well, you didn't want to continue to perform and record. And I say, I can still do those things, but I do find a great joy in promoting the arts and helping you have the opportunity to do those things, to record and perform and teach, or whatever your career desire leads to. So I feel, art leadership is a very, satisfying profession, in terms of, and a satisfying choice.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that when you see your students succeed,
Yes.
That's the most gratifying thing.
Yes. Yes.
It really is. And so, yeah, I share that feeling too.
Yeah.
It's it's not always the easiest profession to be part of, but it's definitely one of the most rewarding, no matter where you are in it, whether you're teaching or whether you're an artist yourself. It's just, there's something, I don't know, wonderful and magical about, particularly in the world today, of having that, being based around creativity. It's amazing.
And I would certainly echo everything that my colleagues have said here, and I think add two pieces of sort of practical advice. One is take every opportunity you possibly can to get leadership training when it's offered to you. I think oftentimes the route to arts leadership within academia is by being at an academic institution as a faculty member. Not always, because sometimes you have folks who come from industry or outside of academia and do find jobs as well. But as one of the things that being within higher education offers is access to a tremendous amount of resources. And I think taking full advantage of those resources, I know that I have benefited along the way from well, being part of the Big Ten. There's an academic leadership program that that the Big Ten offers that I have availed myself of. Other sorts of leadership opportunity, training opportunities that I've taken. Because the other thing is, you are, you know, you often find yourself doing things, overseeing large budgets and fundraising and things that you didn't necessarily train for, and you know, and specific expertise around. So to the extent that you can pick those things up along the way, so much the better. And the other thing I would say is also the importance of mentorship. If you can find a good mentor, that is, I think, a really important step. Someone who can, as you're thinking about or contemplating different, you know, different decisions that you'll have to make in the course of your career, or opportunities that might be presented to you, having someone who has some experience in that realm and who can offer some insight and perspective, I think is really valuable. Or as you're, you know, as you're putting out, if you're applying for jobs, as you're putting out CVs, someone who can look at your cover statement, your cover letter, and look at your materials. I think I have certainly found mentorship in my own career to be very important. And I think what you'll often find is that people are generous and willing, because we are, as folks have said here, passionate about what we do. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging, yes, but it's very rewarding. And I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say we're invested in seeing the next generation of arts leaders step up to the task, and I'm certainly excited about that prospect, and willing to do my part whenever the opportunity arises.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for an amazing panel, and thank you for everyone who's going to watch.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank
Great.
you.
Too. Thank you.
For having us.
Thank you.